on that.
I would just comment that we get to our values by asking people what brings them joy. So if you take them out of the cause that they're fighting for or contributing towards, and you really strip away to the most simple question for a human being is what brings us joy? Where do we lean in? Where do we open? Where do we expand? And follow the thread. That gives us clues to what we care about, which concretizes in the form of values. And if we can get clear on our values, this goes back to alignment. If we can connect those values to the people that are embodying the brand and embodying the mission, then we increase our impact in the world and we resonate with the people that we're serving. So we really start at the core with passion, and that forms our values and what we care about and why.
I mean, there's a lot of leadership models and strategy models that we love. You mentioned Simon Sinek earlier. We love Marcus Buckingham and the Gallup work around Discover Your Strengths. And in that work, they talk about workers who are actively disengaged from their work. And that's what we mean as someone who's not intrinsically motivated. They're there because they want to get a paycheck. Honestly, there's lots of ways to get a paycheck. But when you're at an organization and that's the only thing motivating you, and you feel disassociated from what the organization stands for, there's just so many growth issues that come from that. You might be growing financially, but you're not growing spiritually, you're not growing in fulfillment, you're not maximizing your potential. And organizations are the same. So, being authentic to what you actually care about is really key.
I'll just make one more point on passion. We talk about you can't architect passion. Like, you can't manufacture it. And so you can tap into it, you can harness it. And we believe it is the fuel that creates movements of change, for good or for bad. And so when we get really clear about our unique passions and what we care about, that really is the force that helps to amplify our movements and increase our impact.
We're working with another organization
Thank you, Michelle.
where without saying too much, there's a big gap between how the values are expressed externally versus internally. So one of the values, I'll just say it to be a little bit vague, is compassion. And some of the leadership staff said to us in one of our retreats, compassion is absolutely manifested to our constituents and our donors. However, we don't ever show it to each other. So there's a different kind of broken trust, right? There's a different recalibration needed. They're growing externally, they're growing in funding, but they have huge turnover problems, they have huge morale problems, because these things that they really believe when they talk to the outside audience, they don't show or manifest at all internally. So, those gaps, just like a little crack in a foundation of a house, over time, the second floor will fall off. Same thing happens in an organization. These places where reality isn't matching with what is said, what's being done doesn't match with what we proclaim, they end up really taking their toll on the organization.
This gap that Jeff was talking about, we call that the congruency gap. What we say and what we do needs to be closer and congruent than ever before. Our constituents, our communities, our friends and family can sniff out the BS immediately. We've gotten really good at identifying the incongruency gaps. We don't trust those people or leaders. So when we talk about the necessity of being authentic, it means literally stepping into that place of we are being what we say, and we're saying what we're being. And I think that's what we see as a really important imperative of this time in the social cause sector for organizations to close that congruency gap, to create trust amongst their own team members and then the constituents that they're serving.